Now everyone can customize Empire Paintball's top-level jerseys with the engineered materials, cuts, and types of paddings that the pros demand. Choose your colors, add personalized names and numbers, and team and sponsor logos without any hidden design fees. It's all inclusive. Go to tag-customs.com to get started today on your team's custom jerseys.
Welcome to The Breakdown, brought to you by PaintballAccess.com in association with PB Nation. I'm Matty Marshall alongside Todd Martinez. Well, so far the 3 events are in the books on the PSP season, and coming off the last one, Chicago Open, it was a wild and crazy tournament, lots of weather, lots of great paintball, and we have to say a big congratulations to Edmonton Impact taking that final game 7-2 against a resurgent Houston Heat. So today we're going to talk about the top gun leaders through 3 events, the top 10 players in the PSP right now across 6 different statistical measures. So first up, Todd, I know this is one of your boys. He played with you, underneath you on Infamous, and it's Greg Sewers, who now plays with Houston Heat, D-side specialist. What do you think about Greg Sewers clocking in at number 10?
Well, I think that he really made a difference for Houston Heat in Chicago. I think that them coming back into the Champions Division and making a finals appearance had a lot to do with Greg Sewers figuring out the Dorito side of the field and really playing well for them over there. So I think Greg Sewers, I mean, I think he's a top 10 guy in this league, definitely, and he's proven it now with the stats. And
it was a very interesting D side. So much emphasis was put on that snake, and rightfully so. We saw so many wars go down over there. A lot of points won through that side, but as the, as things started to develop and the tournament started to play out, and we see this time and time again, tournament after tournament, is you have those initial game plans with the most dominant structure. Is how good is the 50? Or I'm sorry, how good is the snake 50? How good is the center? Can you actually get some decent run-throughs? Can you get up there and live like we saw at MAO? Or is the D side pretty heavy as well too? And the D side was good, but guys like Greg Sewers, I totally agree with you. As the tournament wore on, we really saw those D side specialists start to stand out. And it's Greg's played for half of the top teams out there, and it's good to see him find a home on Houston Heat. He's an athletic specimen and a real big asset to that team. He finished, there's 6 different metrics that we use to determine, it's like quarterback rating. There's a bunch of different numbers that go into getting that number. Greg clocked in at 71.41 through 3 events so far. And he's 35th in the G rating, 32nd in survival percentage, 33rd in win rating. Winfluence 8th, no penalties for Greg so far, and 12th in points played. So yeah, Greg is definitely stepping up. Talking about another guy that has been stepping up for his team, though his team has not really been stepping up too much, is Kevin Cali Rudolph, clocking in at 9th overall, and Infamous really struggled at this last event.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, they struggled in the last game against Art Chaos, but break it down for us.
I mean, they were smashing people all the way up until that game, and that's what happens sometimes in the Challengers Division. You got 2 teams that are potential finals matchup in the Champions Division, end up fighting each other with Art Chaos and LA Infamous to go in the semifinals of the Challengers Division. And after Infamous was up 4-1, Infamous really came out smoking. Goes up 4-1. And then Art Chaos comes right back, ties the game up, and then goes on to beat Infamous, leaving Infamous down in the Challengers Division for one more event. But, I mean, Art Chaos, I mean, that was the game that, if you were watching them all event, they're playing okay, but they weren't playing, the way Art Chaos plays. And then they lost to VCK in the rain at the end of Saturday. So I think when they kind of came out and got smacked in the face by Infamous right off the get, I think that's when Art Chaos really decided to step it up. And then we saw them just blow out VCK in the finals.
Yeah, and the thing with Cali is that Infamous, you have to have a guy like that on your squad, somebody that's consistent, somebody that can play that 3 or that 2 position. And we obviously put a lot of emphasis on the 1, but the MVP from the last event was Zach Yakmek, Edmonton Impact, and he's not unfortunately in the top 10 for the overall player ranking for the Top Gun title so far, at least. There's still 2 events left to go. But you saw the importance of how important that second attacker position is, and Cali's been doing that really well. I think one of the reasons why is because he is a former front player himself. I played with him on Excessive when he was first coming up, and he was just this little midget machine running around just murdering people out there. So.
And we've seen him, he's versatile. We've seen him play the 1 this year. You know, he's played the 3 before. You know, the fact that he understands how to play every position on the field, and the fact that you can trust him to play any one of those positions well. You know, he's really a good guy to have on your team, because you can put him in any different position on the field and expect to get productivity out of him.
Yeah, so moving on to number 8, and this is to me, it's not surprising, but Franck Chambon from Moscow Red Legion, one of the Tauntaun players that has come on this year to help bolster the roster for Moscow Red Legion, as they lost they've lost a bunch of players throughout the years who now play on Art Chaos, and it's basically that the core group of French guys, the main starting line from the Tauntauns that were brought over as mercenaries to help out solidify that lineup, so that they can cultivate some of that young Russian talent that they have on the team. So, you know, and one of the reasons that Chambon has such a high ranking is because he's 4th in the G rating. He's 97th in the survival, but he's one of those snake guys, you know, one of those guys on that side of the field that plays, you know, they kind of maneuver him back and forth a little bit, but we definitely, and I've been saying this since the Tauntauns came in the league last year, I really like watching those guys play. I remember seeing them at practice, and they'd come over and practice for like a week straight, and I love the mentality, that grinding mentality that, you know, we kind of grew up with, and, you know, and just kind of those, you know, those guys, those 5 guys they have from the Tauntauns are you know, they're basically trench warfare type paintball players, and they're really helping at Moscow for sure, as, you know, Moscow has been able to, you know, stay in the Champions Division, which is good news for them, because it's crazy this year, man. I mean, it's made it very dramatic and very crazy as far as, you know, who's in, who's not, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, Chambon, 3rd in win rating, 4th in win fluence, no penalties for him, and 43rd in points played. Moving on, number 7, this is a name that's not very surprising. OliverLang, last year's Top Gun award winner, still in the hunt, just putting up tons of kills this year, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that really hurt him, you know, in his statistics was Dynasty and only playing 4 games in Chicago. Not really what the team had expected, or, you know, what they had expected coming into this event with the finish that they had at MAO. But, I mean, OliverLang, I mean, he could explode at any time. I mean, he may be 7th on this list right now, but he's definitely been in the top 2 or 3 guys this year as far as performance. You know, he's been out there just leading the charge for his team, and, you know, he's back to OliverLang form, where everybody's got to worry about him all the time, and you know, he's really putting up some numbers, and, you know, he's on a list with some good guys here, so I fully expect to see him, you know, rise up to the top of these next 2 events.
Well, and he's a guy that's played a lot of points too. You know, Oliver is in the hunt, he's in the mix, and he is very much a key component of the offense of San Diego Dynasty, and he's a missile. He's a weapon. They've sent him up in the center a lot. He played a little bit more versatile role. The center didn't really have but too much of any consistency. We didn't see a ton of players going up there, but Oliver was one of the guys that was able to utilize the center a little bit, even though that center wasn't incredibly playable, as most of the action was going out to the sidelines on that field layout. But yeah, man, it's OliverLang. There's a reason why he was the Top Gun last year, and, you know, he really, especially in that first event, and then also at the MAO win, but he's just seeing the field like very few people can see the field. But again, not too surprising. I mean, when we talk about best players ever, he's always in the conversation, and rightfully so. So moving on to number 6, I love seeing this guy's name up there, and he's been the guy, you know, another member of San Diego Dynasty, and he's really been setting the pace, I feel, at the outset of the tournament. We keep calling his name in those first couple points, those first couple games for Dynasty, and it's BrandonShort. Yeah,
when you watch Dynasty play, Oliver's the guy that you're like, oh man, there he goes again, there he goes destroying people. You know, and then BrandonShort is the guy that you're like, man, that guy's still alive. Like, oh, how did he just not get shot there?
Yeah.
Man, how did he just pull that off? You know, he's just been playing really solid for Dynasty. I mean, you can't really ask for much more. It's great to have a superstar in your team, you know, or 2 or 3, you know, that are just running down the field, blasting people at every point. But, you know, you always want to have the BrandonShorts, the dudes that you can just count on to be solid across the board every single time they show up to play paintball. I think, you know, we were talking about this during the webcast in Chicago. And, you know, BrandonShort, I think it was such a big pickup when he came over to Dynasty from the Ironman because of all the experience that he had. He went to the Ironman when Oliver went to the Ironman in 06, and those guys grew up playing together. And now for him to come out here, be back playing with Oliver again, I just really feel like You know, those guys have some really good chemistry. He's got his buddy Kyle Spica, who does work. You know, those guys play together a lot, and he's just really performing for them this year.
Well, and also before we move on to the top 5, I definitely have to say that, you know, I think that BrandonShort has finally completed that where his mind is at in that 2 role, in that second attacker role. He grew up and cut his teeth as the #1 in the snake for years. And I remember him coming to me and talking to me saying, hey, you know, I want to diversify what I have to offer. And I remember telling him, I was like, hey, man, that's like the best shortstop in the world coming up to you and be like, you know, I really want to play center field. It's like, no, you're the shortstop. You're the most important guy out there, and we need you to do your job and go in the snake and kill people. But you know, that's as you mature in your game and other younger guys come up and they can't play that 2 role, and you have the experience to do that, it does still take some time to kind of move into that. I think Brandon's completely in that role now. We're seeing it. His timing is impeccable. He's had awesome run-throughs, and you can really tell, again, just like Oliver, except Oliver plays more of that 1, though he will play the 2, very versatile. But that's dynasty strength. That's why they won the championship last year. That's why they won Mid-Atlantic Open, is because of guys like Oliver, because of guys like BrandonShort, and just multiply that across their entire roster. So moving on to the top 5, Sergei, so Nice Cove, he's 5th. Sergei is playing on Art Chaos, and Art Chaos is definitely struggling this year. But Sergei is one of those guys that's still putting up numbers for them.
Yeah, I mean, his highest rank is in survival, you know, and that's the one thing that we always talk about with Sergei. You know, Mishka and Fedorov do such a good job of getting up there, causing chaos, getting kills, and then, you know, he's one of those guys that's really good at finishing games and shooting people on the break. So, I mean, again, you know, there's really no surprise with any of these guys, you know, in this top list, but I think Sergei's only going to rise up as well now coming back into the Champions Division. But, I mean, 10th in G rating, 6th in survival percentage, 86th in win rating, 20th in winfluence, 0 penalties, and, you know, plays a lot of points, if not, you know, the majority of the points for Art Chaos.
And they should, with the numbers that he has put up while we've been able to keep stats, at least while he's in the Champions Division. So moving on, number 4th, somebody who's always in the hunt for the Top Gun title and has just had it stolen from him or lost it for himself every year that we've been doing this so far is Marcelo Margot from the Los Angeles Ironman. You want to talk about somebody who played that 2-spot masterfully at the last event? It was Marcelo. Marcelo playing behind Alex Goldman, Toke Hamill, and Daniel Ibarra, the 3 main snake players for the Los Angeles Ironman. And man, Marcelo was putting a clinic on out there. I mean, even though they lost that last game in against Houston Heat to lose in the semifinals, it to me was a statement that the Ironmen have started to reform their team now with the addition of those royalty guys. And Marcelo just went to town in that game. He left it all out there. There's no surprise that he's the 4th ranked guy. He's 12th in the G rating, 8th in survival, which considering that he's in relatively perilous situations all the time, that's impressive. 43rd in win rating, 18th in winfluence. He's had 2 minors and a major, which is a lot of penalties for him, actually. Yeah. And then he's 15th in points played. So, yeah, Marcelo Margot and the Los Angeles Ironmen definitely making a statement with their semifinal performance, though they did lose to Houston Heat in that game. So let's move on to your boy. I'll let you break this one down.
Yeah, Matt Sossman sitting number 3. I think his performance in Chicago, I was telling him, I was like, you know, when you play 5 tournaments a year, but sometimes you always seem to do well at 1 tournament. Mm-hmm. I told Matt Sossman I think Chicago is his event because Matt Sossman last year in Chicago, this year in Chicago, I mean, I just had to keep playing him. You know, he just could never get him off the field. He was shooting somebody on the break every game. He was talking really well. He was making good, smart moves on the finish. I mean, he played that 2-spot on the Dorito side really, really well for us. I mean, him being able to shoot so many people on the break, he probably shot a guy on the break 90% of the time.
Yeah, I was watching. You know, it was impressive.
Just racking up kills, creating opportunities for his front guys, and then shooting a lot of paint. You know, he's number 7 in G rating, 5th in survival percentage. His win rating's 44th, winfluence 16th. He's only got 1 penalty. And, you know, Matt Sossman's doing a heck of a job for us. You know, it's really nice to have somebody, you know, putting up stats like this that you can count on. And, you know, he's been doing that for us pretty much all season.
Well, Vicious needs a guy like that. Your team needs to have a guy like Matt Sossman because you have a lot of front players on that team who get a lot of spins and do a lot of work out there. And if they don't have a big gun and a talker and somebody that can put pressure on their, you know, the opposition and shoot their front players out in front of them like Matt Sossman, you're not going to be able to win tournaments. So, you know, I think that was a huge pickup 2 years ago now, and he's really, obviously, as he's putting up the numbers to be a top-level pro player.
He's got better. You know, he cares.
He's consistently
He plays
better.
every weekend, and he cares to get better. He works on his game. He's an intelligent guy, and he asks questions, and he wants to learn, and it's been huge for us. We've had other guys step up on the team as well, and you can with the whole team playing better, everybody has more opportunities, and Matt Sossam's really taken advantage of his.
So let's talk about the top 2 guys here on this list. Number 2, Fabrice Colombo, again, Moscow Red Legion, one of those French superstars, bolstering their lineup, doing really well at his G rating. He's number 2 in the G rating, 45th survival percentage, 9th in the win rating, 11th in the win fluence, and I think that those win rating, win fluence weighted is obvious because those are Colombo and Chambon are the 2 main guys on that roster, on that one lineup, and they give those guys a lot of spins because they're trying to bring those younger rookie guys that they've been building up. But those guys are young, man. Most of them are under the age of 18. So definitely cool to see Fabrice Colombo hitting the number 2 spot. And then our number 1 guy, Archie Montemayor. And Archie is in the number 1 spot by 10 points. That is a monstrous lead that Archie has over the field heading into the next event, which unfortunately you could look at it unfortunately or fortunately, but Archie and the rest of the boys from San Antonio X Factor got relegated. So we're not going to see them in the Champions Division. They are going to be playing in the Challengers Division because, they lost that relegation game to Upton 187 crew. They've been the Icemen out there. Yeah, they've been, oh, was it to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It was to you guys. Yeah, Upton 187 crew defeated Chicago Aftershock.
Has been the Iceman.
Yeah, they've been the Iceman though. You guys have too when you're getting down in those spots.
Don't want to be there.
Yeah, I won't bring it up. I know it's touchy. It's touchy. But Archie is just dominating out there. I mean, it's so entertaining to watch Archie Montemayor play the game. He has some really good ones in front of him. Typically plays the 2 on the snake side, but we talk about versatility a lot when we're talking about top 10 players in the league. But Archie is just, it's a pleasure to watch him play, man. He looks fluid, he's tenacious, he wins low body situations, he doesn't make many mistakes, he shoots lots of guys in gunfights. I mean, there's not a lot Archie does wrong out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you watch Chicago, the first day, X Factor lost both their games, and they were just losing front players all over the place. And again, what we've seen from Archie all season, what he's great at is recovering. Chopping down when they're down bodies, chopping down players trying to push into them, and getting kills and saving points. They played a lot better on Saturday, but still ended up having to play for relegation. But I mean, when we go into that game, we're like, hey, be smart. The first thing I told the guys is, hey, if we shoot their front players and we start attacking, do not give up free bodies to Archie. Don't underestimate his creativity in how he might find a way to shoot you. And that was it's a main focus because I mean I think it's 118 kills that he has so far this year out of 110 games, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean I would love to see the stat on how many of those his team was down bodies.
Yeah, with that, he's just so good, man, and it's almost like he hasn't peaked yet. That's what's crazy about it. So yeah, hats off to Archie Montemayor. He is the leader as we head into the next event, and it's going to take one of these guys or one of the guys that are right behind them in the top 10 to put up some simply spectacular numbers to have a chance of catching Archie. And then hopefully for San Antonio X Factor, the defending world champs, hopefully they can fight out of the Challengers Division and have a chance to play in the World Cup. I mean, that's what makes the 4th event so interesting. And one of the reasons I can't wait to watch it is because, man, if you don't make it out of the Challengers Division, you're not going to be playing for that ultimate title that everyone plays paintball for, that Champions Division title, which they won last year. And the teams on the bubble, Shock, Infamous, and now the defending champs. And that means that the team that won the first event and the team that won the World Cup are both struggling to get out of the Challengers Division. That's how crazy it's going to be. So remember, set your calendars, August 8th through the 10th, coming at you, West Coast Open from Riverside. Thank you guys for tuning in. And also next week, we're going to have all the games from the last event going to be up on YouTube. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a crazy event. Also, make sure to get your team in the fight. Go to pspevents.com and help us support the sport by supporting our sponsors. So thank you guys for checking out the top 10 leaders here of the Top Gun title heading into the next event. I'm Matty Marshall with Todd Martinez. We'll see you next time.
This is the Earth. The Earth is beautiful. Earth is where we play paintball. It is important to recycle in order to save the Earth. Do not recycle custom paintball jersey designs. Get what you pay for. Get a fresh original design at rosalife.com.
There are massive opportunities, both with the sport of paintball and for your business. If we are successful in taking our sport to another level, unite with Paintball Access in our quest to elevate paintball and broadcast it to the world. There are advertising packages available for any size business. Join us. Advertise with PBA and help us change the sport for the better, forever.